Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with the mighty Jingles. Do you ever wonder what would happen if I started a video and didn't say howdy folks? But it's an imposter, Jingles, somebody else is uploading YouTubes to your channel and pretending to be you. And yeah, I kind of backed myself into a corner on this one now, haven't I? You won't know who I am if I don't start a video by saying howdy folks. Anyway, yes, where were we? Oh, yes, my Gamescom videos. That's right. I am currently in Germany attending Gamescom 2015. But what I've done is I have pre-recorded a bunch of single battle replay videos and pre-uploaded them to YouTube and scheduled them for release while I'm away at Gamescom. This is one of them. This is Haevun, and he is in his Aoba Tier 6 Japanese cruiser. It's not a bad ship, the Aoba, although it does suffer by comparison to the Cleveland, the American Tier 6 cruiser, and I really didn't like the Aoba when I first got it. And I really didn't like it because I unlocked the Cleveland first. In fact, I think I'd actually unlocked the Pensacola at Tier 7 down the American cruiser line before having a go on the Aoba. And that's not really fair to the Aoba because anything's going to suffer by comparison to the Cleveland. But the Aoba isn't bad. It's not bad at all. Anyway, let's have a look at the team lists. As well as Haevun's Aoba-class cruiser, his team also have a Ryujo-class carrier, a New Mexico-class battleship, a Cleveland-class cruiser, ooh, and a Farragut-class destroyer. Farragut's a good little ship. Enemy team definitely have the edge in air power. They've got two Tier 6 aircraft carriers, the Independence and the Ryujo. They also have a New Mexico of their own, and a Mutsuki-class destroyer. And I love the name, by the way, of the guy in the Mutsuki. It's Al Capone. Get it? Al Capone? No? Never mind. Don't be too quick to write off the Mutsuki, by the way. A lot of people say the Mutsuki's a bad ship, and it isn't. People just don't like the Mutsuki because it's not much better than the Minakaze down at Tier 5. But the Minakaze's absolutely amazing, so just being as good as the Minakaze isn't a bad thing. Well, anyway, you haven't actually seen Haevun do an awful lot other than drive around in a big circle so far. He initially started heading off over to the east and then realised that 4/5 of his team were heading over to the west. He thought, screw that, I'm not heading down east to die for you guys. Turned around and he's heading in this direction. There are 3 ships on his team that are heading over to the east and they're going to run into a lot of trouble. Meanwhile, Haevun and the other Tier 6 cruiser, the Cleveland, form up to protect their carrier from the inevitable air assault. You almost always see it happening. Whenever one side has got more aircraft carriers than the other, the enemy aircraft carriers almost always try to knock out the outnumbered team's aircraft carriers right at the start of the match. The Cleveland and the Aoba, however, are providing air cover, and so the enemy carrier captains change their targets and watch that battleship. Look at all of those torpedoes and just look at that guy's health. Oh, that's going to leave a mark. Wisely deciding not to have their aircraft slaughtered by the combined defensive fire cooldowns of an Aoba and a Cleveland, instead they went for the sitting duck target, the enemy battleship, right there in the middle of the bay. Meanwhile, further over to the east, we've got one destroyer and one cruiser who, instead of playing defensively, they're charging around that corner and they're going to get themselves completely overwhelmed by what's coming in the other direction. Played well, one Japanese destroyer alone can, quite effectively, tie up and hold off a vastly superior enemy force by firing torpedoes at them and forcing them to maneuver and break up the line of attack, keeping them spotted, and just keep the enemy force guessing, at least long enough, if not forever, but at least long enough to give the rest of the ships on the team, who are all sailing around to the west, time to get their act together and start winning the game. Of course, that's not going to happen. And it's not entirely the fault of the friendly ships who have sailed around to the east, because what the enemy carriers are doing is very crafty. What they're doing is the returning dive and torpedo bombers, instead of flying in a straight line all the way back to the carriers, they're routing them on a dogleg course to spot anything that's around there to the east. So a good move from the enemy carrier drivers. Meanwhile, Haevun has finally gotten back up to speed again after riding anti-aircraft escort for his team's aircraft carrier. You could argue that he wasted his time by doing that, but at the same time you could argue that if he and the Cleveland hadn't been there, then the carrier would have come under attack from enemy aircraft. As it was, Because they were there, I suspect that the enemy aircraft carrier captains decided that it just wasn't worth getting their aircraft annihilated by 2 Tier 6 cruisers, and they went for the easy kill instead. Things are not looking very good over there to the east. Not looking very good at all. And to be completely honest, things are not looking very good over here to the west either. So far, the scores are only 1-0. But it's not so much about the scores, it's about the way the various ships played in this game. The destroyers on Haevun's team were, at best, useless, and at worst, a downright menace to their own team. But we'll come on to that in more detail later when it happens. For now, Haevun is getting up to speed again, and he's almost in range to actually start shooting at something. It did take a while for this game to start developing. There's one of the enemy destroyers. He's the first one in gun range, but he's not, well, he doesn't really have an effective shot at him. So he waits. We have 2 of the enemy battleships, 2 enemy cruisers, and 1 destroyer that we know of. It looks like a New Mexico and a Kawachi. So we've got the Tier 6 battleship, and we've got their Tier 3 battleship. I'm not entirely sure what the cruisers are. I think one of them's an Omaha. There's the other one. Oh my god. The other enemy cruiser that we just saw for a brief second over there. That's a Tier 2. It's the Chikama, the Japanese Tier 2 cruiser. Let's have a quick... Yeah, that's right. He's actually in a division. He's platooned up with the Tier 3 battleship. Battleships get absolutely brutal matchmaking in World of Warships. And that's why we have a Tier 2 cruiser in this Tier 6 match. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Anyway, the team's losing 2-0, although they're about to pull one back. There it is, when the Farragut nails the Mutsuki, so Al Capone has been sent to a watery grave. Haevun is busy pouring the high explosive fire, well, as best as he can. He can only get 2 turrets firing at that New Mexico up there. That's one of the things about the Aoba. Oh, it set him on fire, which is nice. It only has 3 gun turrets. It's got 6 guns. They are 203mm guns, however. I mean, these are big 8-inch guns. They do a lot of damage. And the rate of fire on them isn't that bad, especially considering the Japanese get their 203mm guns at Tier 5 with the Furitaka. So you go through the Furitaka. By the time you get to the Aoba, the performance of the guns is a bit better. But 6 guns, 3 turrets. You lose 1 turret, kiss goodbye to a third of your firepower. Anyway, Haevun slowed down here, by the way, because he didn't want to sail around the side of this island without his guns loaded and get shot at before he was able to return fire. He's speeding up again. And, oh, he's managed to kill the New Mexico, which was nice. The New Mexico finally succumbed to the fire damage inflicted by his high explosive shells. Now, he's still got the high explosive loaded. He really should have switched back, well, to armor piercing after killing the New Mexico. But he's just killed the New Mexico. He's still got high explosive loaded. So he draws a bead on this Omaha, who is turning around and trying to get the heck out of there. He fires, he clears the barrels of his high explosive. He's going to hit him, he's going to do some damage, but he could potentially have destroyed this guy, firing 4 203mm armor piercing shells from his 2 forward gun turrets. As it is, well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the guy's dead anyway. And there's that very, very unfortunate, bravely fighting to the last Tier 2 Chikama class cruiser as he gets sideswiped by a friendly Nicholas class destroyer who just wasn't watching where he was going. But no real harm done. And the Chikama is not long for this world. There he goes. That just leaves the guy that the Chikama was in a division with, the Tier 3 Kawachi class battleship, frantically trying to scurry out of line of sight around the side of this island, but he's just delaying the inevitable. Now, while Haevun speeds up, and he is going to catch this guy easily, while he speeds up to finish this guy off, have a look at what's happened over on the eastern side of the map. There's nobody left on his team over there. 1 cruiser and 1 destroyer sailed around there. The cruiser died. The destroyer, who you can see just leaving the friendly cap circle, it's an Isakazi. He's on half health. He's just thought to himself, screw you guys, I'm going home. And he's come to join the rest of the team over here. But lit up on the map, just for a fraction of a second, we saw an enemy battleship heading around from the east. Hold on to that thought while Haevun pummels this Kawachi with his high explosive shells. He's inside the secondary gun battery range of the Kawachi, but the Kawachi's secondaries aren't particularly good. He's, no, He's going to be dead before you get the torpedoes away, let alone before the torpedoes reach him. Well, he launches the torpedoes and bingo, the Kawachi goes down. But before the Kawachi went down, he did a Wrath of Khan, and from hell's heart he stabbed at Haevun and took about a third of his health off with his main battery armour piercing. Now, this is where things start to get both very stupid and very spectacular at the same time. They're being capped. We know that there was a battleship coming around there. There's the Isakazi, who is still very firmly in run the hell away mode. If he would just turn around, he would be in a perfect position to spot everything in the cap circle. There's the Farragut, the tier 6 destroyer, and he's almost on full health, while, to be fair to the Isakazi, he has been under almost continuous dive bomber attack all the way in his retreat from the eastern end of the map. But the Farragut is at least heading in the right... No, the Farragut's heading in the wrong direction as well. Fantastic. Haevun is now going to have to sail into the cap against an undetermined number of enemy ships, and judging by the speed at which that cap counter is going up, there's not just one battleship in there, and he's going to have to do it completely blind. To be fair to the Isakazi driver, he is right now actually in the process of turning around and coming after Haevun, but it's too little too late. And when he does eventually catch up, we're going to wish that he hadn't bothered. I wonder if you can guess. There, Omaha class cruiser. He's firing high explosive because you have to damage whatever's in the cap circle to reset the cap, and he doesn't know what's going to be in the cap circle because his destroyers are all idiots. So high explosive will damage everything. He's reset the cap on the Omaha. There's the Wyoming. We knew there was going to be a battleship here. Come on, get these guns reloaded. The Wyoming seen him and is firing at him. The Omaha is firing at him. Oh, that's not good. There's a destroyer. Oh, it's an Isakazi tier 4. Well, luckily, he's got high explosive loaded. It's almost reloaded. Shots away. And he does the hero cap reset on the Isakazi as well. So, job done, right? Nope, not quite. There's another battleship in the cap circle. 2 Wyomings, 1 Omaha, and an Isakazi. And there go the Isakazi's torpedoes. Ooh, this is going to be close. This is going to be close. Turn the other way. Turn the other way. Guns reloaded. Kill this guy. Come on. Come on. No. No, he missed. Oh, that's not good. But he's done the job. He's reset the cap. And even though he's too slow to get into the cap circle, the New Mexico class battleship on the team is providing some very, very useful... Oh, good shot. Good shot. Yes, the New Mexico is providing some very, very useful long-range firepower at these 2 Wyomings. But in the meantime, Haevun does still have an Omaha and 2 Wyomings shooting at him. Now, he's managed to set this guy on fire, but he's burning from stem to stern himself anyway. He swings it around to get a torpedo launch off. The torpedoes, of course, are the big equalizer, but they only fire in the rear arc on the Aoba. He gets the torpedoes away against the Wyoming, and it's almost as if his spider senses were tingling. There's the Isakazi doing his level best to team kill the hero of the match and narrowly avoids sinking Haevun. Haevun's torpedoes obliterate the lead Wyoming, and it will probably come as absolutely no surprise whatsoever to anybody watching this video to learn that the Isakazi's torpedoes completely miss the surviving Wyoming. Haevun is burning from stem to stern. The Wyoming is pummeling him with his main battery guns. He's taken fire from the Omaha. He fires a barrage off with his forward gun batteries, but the guns are not what's going to settle this match. He's got to swing this ship around and get the torpedo launchers on the other side straight into the face of that Wyoming, who can see it coming, but at this range there is nothing he can do. And Haevun picks up a high caliber award and another devastating strike to go with the Confederate that he picked up for nailing the first Wyoming. And yes, he is actually coming under air attack as well. And he hasn't finished off the Omaha yet. He switches to armour piercing. Now that he knows that there's just a lightly armoured cruiser, he switches to armour piercing to put this Omaha down before he switches fire from the Isakazi and starts trying to finish the job on Haevun. And he scores a Citadel penetration against the Omaha. Very, very useful, especially when you have as little health as Haevun has remaining. The Omaha succumbs to air attack. And then, with the exception of his anti-aircraft batteries shooting at what did turn out to just be enemy fighters and not dive bombers after all, everything goes quiet. and Haevun is finally able to start breathing. But what a hero, what an absolute star of the match. You could argue that the Farragut, who headed off in the other direction to attempt to cap the enemy base, actually did the right thing, because he didn't know that Haevun was going to be able to reset the cap. And so attempting to cap the enemy flag was the right thing to do under the circumstances. You could argue that, and you'd be wrong. And the reason you'd be wrong is because all the time Haevun was doing the superstar thing back here in the friendly cap circle, the destroyer in the enemy cap circle was getting hit over and over and over again by dive bombers launched from the enemy aircraft carriers. At no point were they going to win this by capping. They had to kill all of those enemy ships and protect their own flag. And heading in the other direction didn't help them do that, although you could also further argue that, judging by the performance of the Isakazi, who did come back to help him, that perhaps one destroyer in the friendly cap circle was more than enough. Thanks very much. So all that remains is to do a spot of cleaning up on the two enemy carriers, who both played very, very good games, and it's a real shame, but, well, somebody has to end up on the losing team. And there's one of them. He's recovering his aircraft. You can see some shots going in there, potentially at another enemy carrier who is outside of our view range. Strangely, even though he's shooting at a carrier, Haevun's actually still got the armor piercing loaded. There we go, he's finally switched. Yeah. Switched the high explosive now. You can't really blame him. His hands are probably still shaking after that performance in the cap circle. Just these two enemy carriers left. You can see his own anti-aircraft batteries opening up. He's coming under air attack from the carrier on Haevun's team, who also did a really, really good job. And by he actually, that just shows you what the armour is like on this Japanese Tier 6 carrier. It's so bad you can get citadel penetrations with high explosive. Of course, you don't do as much damage with a citadel penetration with high explosive, but it's a carrier. Fire high explosive at him. You want to put his flight deck out of commission. When he's on fire, he can't launch aircraft. He's pummeling the high explosive into him, and there go torpedoes. I mean, it's all over. This is now the last guy surviving on the enemy team, but oh, he's got dive bombers away, and he's seen a low health cruiser, and oh crap, it's us. They're coming in. Haevun, look out, look out. There he goes. Triggers his defensive fire cooldown. He's a cruiser with dual purpose anti-aircraft batteries, and every single one of the bombs misses, which is nice. But that carrier is nothing if not determined. He's been set on fire. He uses his damage control ability to put the fire out. He manages to get some torpedo bombers away. Haevun, there are torpedoes in the water, Haevun. Haevun, turn the ship. This could be embarrassing. Don't get hit by the torpedoes, Haevun. Don't. Oh, that was close. And there he goes. Game over. What a match. Unfortunately, Haevun didn't take the post-battle screenshots and send them to me with his replay, so I can't show you exactly how much he earned as far as experience and credits are concerned out of that match. But judging by his actual performance, the fact that he got not just a high caliber but also the Confederate Award and multiple cap resets, I'm going to guess he got a lot. Yeah, I think we're going to go with a lot. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed that match. I think it was absolutely fantastic personally. Started off a little slow, but definitely heated up towards the middle and the end. And that's it for today's video upload while I'm away at Gamescom. I hope you found it amusing and entertaining, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.